We're live.
Farts. Old farts. Two old farts. Steve and Dave. Sometimes you find a diamond in the rough. Not this time, though. This is just rough. Two old farts. There is no better waste of time. Two guys. Two old guys. A lot of BS and more drivel than you can shake a stick at. Steve and Dave. God help us.
You realize at some point you're going to have to change that intro, right? I'm just saying. I like it, though. It's very good.
Well, why would I, if you like it, why would I change it then? Because the neighbors
we have all
love
those others. The neighbors love it. Oh, if the neighbors love it, we're never changing it. So
yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got space to put more things on, Steve.
Okay. Hey, here's the really cool thing. Today we're going to do a show on Web3 and payments, which is probably good for you because you're dealing with the New York City Bank of Nigeria and Lagos.
No,
so,
I'm thinking, I asked you before. It's an open wound. I appear to be financially punished by I think by some gentleman in Nigeria. I'm not sure.
Was he a prince?
Since yes.
Okay.
And I'm not going to marry his daughter. But
okay.
yeah, I mean, since I sort of got involved with this whole Nigerian bank department through New York tourism, it's all become sticky and very brown.
Wow, that's a nice way to put it. So would you like to introduce? We have many people on the show today. It's very exciting.
Is it a many people show? Are they from Nigeria?
It's a many people show. No, nobody from Nigeria. Apparently, we have two people from where you are, where people wear wooden shoes and put their fingers in dikes, which is my favorite pastime. And then we've got a guy in, well, we're just going to say New York, even though he's across the Hudson in New Jersey, but he's is
that our friend John?
Yes, it's our friend John. So it's gonna be one of those shows today. It's gonna be interesting. So should we bring Bo in
and hold on?
Yeah, I know. Should we bring Bo in and let Bo introduce his guest, and then everybody knows John, and we'll just throw John in whenever it's time.
Yeah, well, let's do that. So
all right, Bo, welcome to the show again, my friend.
Evening. Hi, Bo.
Hello, guys. Thank you.
How you doing?
Me once more. I'm doing very well.
Thank you. Today we have the hair. We have hair today. I see that.
But we agreed upon L'Oreal attending as well, and now some guy named John is coming on.
John uses L'Oreal. When you see the head of hair on John, he's their spokesperson. So he's their spokesperson for L'Oreal. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So well, if we have you both on together, it'll be like a before and after. So
okay. How are you going to do that? Like him first and then me, or the other way?
No, you first and then John. It's definitely the before and the after. Yes, but we've known John forever. Yeah, but John's a good guy. But yes, we talked to L'Oreal, and they're like they said we need a little more. So John's gonna rep for us there for you.
Cool.
So there you go.
I don't know a lot about John, right?
No.
I don't know a lot about John, but what happened?
He doesn't know anything about you either, Bo. So
that's great. Like I was like, hey guys, Maurice is coming on, and I've seen a few projects with Maurice, and there were some things happening there that I couldn't put together. So we need somebody to really have the strong questions, the rough questions to ask. And you were like, oh, we know somebody. So Stephen called up, and John had to pop on. Like you're going to ask tough questions. So I'm not here to destroy my friend or to ask the tough questions. I'm just here to introduce Maurice. Yeah. Maurice, welcome to the Two Old Farts. I think video podcast.
It's video. It's a podcast.
Hi, Maurice.
Yes, Maurice.
Pleasure to be with you guys.
Hi. Maurice has a really broad background in health, wealth, and Web3 now. But wealth is more on the software development side. He went to correct me if I'm wrong, but you went to a foreign country near Australia to onboard a whole software company to work with you, right? Maybe you can tell something more about that.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yeah. So
all right, and before we get started, let me just bring John
sorry,
in.
John.
So everybody, there's John. So everybody
John.
that's a friend of the show knows who John is. So the
How
only
you doing?
introduction is John and I have known each other 20
Yeah.
years. We had an investment boutique called Green Street that he was part of. And now John's semi-retired, sits in a chair and looks out. Is it the East River or the Hudson you're looking out every day?
And look at all the knowledge he has in the background, all those books.
And just so you know, that's wallpaper. I've been to the house. It's not even real books. It's very nice.
Yeah,
got
it's
one
wallpaper.
Yeah.
That's right.
You should get one too. So I look at
Books.
I look smart.
You know, it's
Yeah.
for reading.
I thought you were sort of moonlighting in IKEA or something, and just
Yeah.
so get the sort of the whole room vibe going. John.
Yeah, you guys are talking smack, before I came in here. I know they're gonna just destroy you.
That's because we love you, John. That's because we love you. So that's right. We're on a show tomorrow with Roll. You can get us all back. Anyway,
Yeah.
so not to belittle what you did in a country that's next to Australia, which is probably, we'll go with New Zealand or China. You pick. Anyway, so tell us about the onboarding. And then I think what fascinated us when we spoke to Bo was that he said you came up with a payment system, the first of its kind for Web3.
Yeah.
So I think a little bit of background, and then if you want to take us to that, I think that'd be pretty cool for the people that are interested in Web3, and where you think it's going and about your payment system.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely do that. Yeah. So first of all, I started in marketing. Did a lot of growth hacking also for ICOs back in the days in 2017 for a lot of cryptocurrency projects. I always had problems with software and software development companies, and until it became such a pain in the ass that I thought, like, okay, let me just start my own software development company. How hard can it be? It was a little harder than I expected it to be, so that was a little bit of a trouble. But luckily, I found the right people where I could start this company with. Eventually, that was originally in Web2, rolled into Web3 because you have to be at the innovation. You have to follow the trends or be the trend and pioneer there. Rolled into Web3 and eventually saw a lot of problems with the projects that we were launching ourselves for our clients and our own projects, especially with the onboarding in terms of the payments, right? There are not a lot of people that have cryptocurrency. I think there are like over 100 million wallets. You have more than 7 or 8 billion people around the globe. So it was a bit of a problem, especially with having traditional people buy NFTs or any particular thing in the Web3 space. So we thought, like, okay, let's build something. How hard can it be? Exactly the same problem. Again, it was a little bit harder than I expected it to be. But yeah, fortunately, we found how we could do it. And we were the first in Europe that basically had a payment solution like this, being able to have on-ramp or fiat payments for NFTs.
And this is only for the Web3 space, or is this for Web2 and Web3? Like, where does your payment system, lie the most, if you will?
It's now more focused on the Web3 for the NFTs, but we're basically also going back to the original payment service providing, so the actual payment infrastructure for normal traditional payments like e-commerce and everything. So we want to make a combination, mainly the focus on Web3 because there's not a lot in Web3 as you have in Web2. You have a lot of big organizations like Adyen or Stripe. So we think like there's the most opportunity in Web3. So that's why we have the focus on Web3.
What differs your payment system in Web3 or in Web2? Because Bo said it's like revolutionary. Is it? And I don't know. So that's why I'm asking. So is it revolutionary, or is it? And I'm not trying to belittle it because I don't know. Is it like a Square or a Stripe, or is it just like everybody else? Or have you done something so different that someone sees this, you're gonna be like, oh my God, this is the next big thing?
Yeah, it's kind of the next big thing. And the reason why it's revolutionary is because you basically fill the gap where you have an on-ramp, how they call it, like they'll call it an on-ramp because you go from fiat currency, like just normal, over here in the Netherlands, we use a lot of Ideal debit cards. In America, that's a little different. That's more credit cards. But how are you going to convert that into actually owning eventually an NFT, something that's blockchain related, right?
Right.
It's a little bit more difficult than just a transaction like, okay, you pay for a product costs $50, you pay $50 and you have the product. That's it. it's a little bit different because you have the blockchain aspect and you have the NFT aspect that you have to cover, right? So that makes it a little different, and that makes it a little revolutionary, because there's a very big difference between a normal traditional payment flow and a Web3 payment flow, so to call it.
All right, so what's the difference? And here's my question. At some point, if people want NFTs to be used every day, grandma and grandpa aren't going to get a wallet with 72 words they have to memorize or write down, right? It should be, I see, like John paints a piece of art, or I want to buy one of John's books as an NFT. It should be that I can literally just take my Visa, American Express, Discover, whatever card I want to use it, and I should have an NFT that automatically goes on the blockchain, right? There should be A, B, C, not A through Z. So is that what your Web3 is doing, your technology, or is there still the extra steps so it gets hooked up on the blockchain?
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're doing. So basically, we're building a layer that it feels like the traditional e-commerce, right? Everyone got used to the traditional e-commerce flow, where you buy something, you get login credentials, and you can get access to all the products that you've purchased, either if it's digital or like a product that's being shipped towards your house. Right. That's kind of the thing that we also want to have in Web3, because it took a very long time to have people get used to that so-called Web2 or e-commerce, right? People were also very hesitant back in the days to use e-commerce, for example. They still wanted to go to the shops. COVID eventually made it like very big, and everyone is using e-commerce now because they didn't have any other option. So everyone nowadays is using that. So if you're gonna, again, make it very difficult for people to buy something or to remember things or to add in wallet addresses, transfer crypto somewhere, then pay something, people have so much difficulties with that. Even I come from cryptocurrency since 2017, when I had to purchase like NFTs. It was completely different than how I was used to using crypto in 2017, right? So you want to replicate what's happening in e-commerce, and we're just making people have the feeling that they're just buying a traditional e-commerce product, right? It's just the same.
And then if I buy, so I'm not sure what blockchain you're going to sit on, because everybody has their own blockchain. So if I buy an NFT on the XYZ blockchain, how easy then is it for me to transfer it over to some other blockchain down the road if I use like your payment system? Or is your payment system on the X blockchain and that's kind of where it sits, and that's the only blockchain I can actually use it on and whatnot?
That's correct. You can do cross-chain payments, but the NFTs or something that's related is, of course, on a particular blockchain. So that could be Polygon, that could be any kind of blockchain like Ethereum or Tezos, because that's where it's in the blockchain. Right? You can't get it out, because otherwise, you're going to have the infrastructure is not built to have like cross-chain blockchains connected with each other. That's not there yet.
So would that be the next thing then, not just having a payment system, but would be the next thing to have be able to go cross blockchain? So if I buy something, I say on John's blockchain, but then all of a sudden I want to be on Bo's blockchain because he's offering me something better. I don't know what better would be, but whatever it is there's something that's going to be easier for me to be able to go from A, B, C all the way to Z? Or is it, or for right now, I know it's still at its infancy, or we're all going to be stuck on either go to blockchain A, blockchain B, blockchain C, or whatnot?
Well, for us, the focus is more on providing it for any particular blockchain and not building a cross-chain infrastructure. I do think that that's going to take quite some time before that's going to come, right? People still got to be adopted to, what's a blockchain. Right. And if that's a Tezos blockchain or an Ethereum blockchain, it really doesn't matter. It matters what the customer feels, right? Right. The customer wants to see something. He wants to have the feeling that it's super simple. And what's happening under the ground, if it's like Ethereum or Polygon, your mother, grandmother, or anyone else doesn't really care about what kind of blockchain it is. Only the early adopters in the space, they like, oh, it's on the Ethereum blockchain or it's on the Polygon blockchain. For a normal traditional customer, it doesn't really matter. They just want to have the product. So we built something that's more like a e-commerce traditional kind of feeling. What's happening underground, under the surface, that doesn't really matter for the customer per se. They don't really feel that as an USP, if it's built on Tezos or if it's cross-chain or if it's anything else. They just want to have the payment. They just want to have the product. And that's how simple you have to make it.
So they can use a credit card or a debit card. They don't have to worry about crypto algorithms, and they can go ahead and they can buy whatever NFT or whatever your payment system supports. So does your payment system also support just traditional e-commerce, or is it just made, if you will, for the NFT market?
It's now just only for the NFT market. We're going to expand it to multiple, like the e-commerce, like I said, but that's going to be later. And right now it's mainly focused on the NFT space because there's a very big gap. There's not a lot of providers still. I do think that there's going to be a lot coming the next coming months, the next coming years, because the market is getting bigger and bigger, and it's getting more in high demand. So you also see like many traditional organizations like Stripe, they're also working on more on the crypto side of things. But still, it's quite complicated to integrate those things because you have problems like the liquidity. How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? There's many issues you're going to face, and especially if you're going to be a bigger organization like Stripe, it takes some time because you have a lot of things that you have to take into account before you can do that.
So, Maurice, can you take us through the user experience then? So, how do I? You say it's all under the covers, which is great because you know that we know that all the crypto wallets scare the crap out of people. So
exactly.
I've seen a product. What happens then?
We have two different flows. One is a flow where you can actually have people get the feeling of Web3. That's for customers that really want to provide that kind of customer journey of I'm really buying a Web3 product and it's completely different and it feels like I actually did something. So there you create a wallet, or you create a separate wallet address. What's happening first is you're going to come into like a normal traditional e-commerce flow where you're just going to be like, okay, I'm going to be at ecommerce.com. I buy an NFT or I buy 2 NFTs. You click, you pay, and then what's happening is you get login credentials. You go to a like very secured login environment, super like e-commerce, super e-commerce style, where you get the flow of like, hey, these are the steps that you have to follow in order to create a wallet, right? Gas fees are paid up front. The reason why we pay the gas, why the gas fees are included up front, is because then they don't have, whenever they make a wallet, and that's what you see with some of those payment solutions, is you still have to make a wallet. You still have to get like an X amount of money to pay the gas fees. And we say like, okay, let's do that up front so you don't have that pain. Because otherwise you're still going to get in the circle of buying crypto, doing this, doing that. You go into the login environment, you go there, you follow the steps, how to create a wallet, you create the wallet, you fill in the wallet address. And then when the wallet address is filled, it signals the system that we created that initiates a function in the smart contract that airdrops the X amount of NFTs to the wallet. The other flow is that we have a non-custodial wallet as well. So that's more like a MetaMask kind of feeling. Has the same login flow. The only thing that's different is that when you buy it on ramp, so you buy it with the e-commerce flow, you buy it, you directly have it into the Henry Pay wallet, right? That's a wallet that has multiple blockchains. Again, you don't see that there's a difference in the blockchains. It's completely the same, except for when you try to transfer things. So when you try to transfer things from the Ethereum blockchain, and we have the idea that someone's going to send it to a different blockchain, there's a lot of warnings and securities, of course, to make sure that people are not going to send it in the air.
So let me ask you this. So on the gas fees, when we did stuff in NFTs, the gas fees were always the unknown. So I'm assuming when you're selling NFTs for these examples, I'm assuming we're buying digital art, right? And there's other things you can use NFTs for, but for right now, I'll just say it's for the digital art. So the gas fees being an unknown, or do you have it where the gas fee is, if you will, and I'm making up it, is $1. So every time there's a transaction, the gas fee is $1. So that's almost like the credit card processing fee, so to speak, that there's not a big worry. Or is it the gas fee, like, the Monte Carlo theory, which is where daddy needs a pair of 7, we're rolling the dice and we have no idea of what it is until we have a purchase.
Yeah. Well, the thing is we have 2 different models there. First, you can do like a fixed one. You could say like, okay, the average gas fees are like, let's say $3 or $10. You make it like 20 or you make it 15. And we cover it like, the transaction fees. Yeah. So like shipping costs, we give them an explanation. So again, it feels like the e-commerce flow, right? Because you want to simplify what it is. You don't want to name it like gas fees. And then because people are all going to have questions like, what are gas fees? What's this about? I just want to have the product, right? So,
sorry, Maurice. So that means that I buy something for $100. Do I pay $100 for it, or do I pay $100 plus the gas fees on top?
Yeah, exactly. That's correct.
So what do I see as a? Okay, and but that's not. You said originally that was included in the price.
It can be included in the price. That depends on what the customer wants, of course. The customer determines what they want. It's the same with shipping costs, right? Some people offer the shipping cost for free, but someone still got to pay for it. Either it's the customer that buys something, or it's like the vendor that sells it. So it depends on what the customer wants and how he wants to display that, right? We all know the free shipping above a certain amount. That's the same thing, or transaction fees, same thing if it's included or excluded of the price. So that depends per case, right? But that's basically how we cover that, so to give them that traditional feeling of the e-commerce flow.
Yeah, we're still back to wallets again, and we're still back to having to have a wallet, and who owns the wallet? Does the e-commerce platform?
The user always owns the wallet.
And is it a hot wallet, or can I make it?
It's a hot wallet. Yeah, it's a hot wallet. Yeah.
So there's always the risk that people can run away with all the money in my wallet.
Yeah, there's always a risk with a hot wallet. Yeah, but that's that's with every hot wallet. That's with every MetaMask. It's with every hot wallet there is. So that's always going to be a thing.
Isn't that the issue though? Then with crypto algorithms and the NFT market and whatnot, right? It's kind of like, look at FTX. Look at John. Always can remember the name of the company in Japan that 5 years ago ran away with like billions of dollars worth of crypto algorithms. Thanks. So that's, I think, the issue is, has that get prevented at some point? Like, I know that your payment system.
That's a great question. So you have two different wallets, right? And the problem with the FTX is those are custodial wallets, right?
Right.
Meaning that it's in custody with FTX. What we provide, and what, for example, MetaMask is a non-custodial wallet. So the only one who can have access to that particular wallet is the user or the owner of the wallet. Okay. So it's separated from us. It's separated from anything else. And that's the problem with exchanges. They're centralized and they have the custody over your cryptocurrency. So you don't know what's happening under that, right? With a MetaMask, that's a non-custodial wallet. The Henry Pay wallet is also a non-custodial wallet, right? So that's the difference between the wallets. And the wallet we provide is a non-custodial wallet. So the ownership lies at the user, at the buyer, basically.
But if I want to use your product, though, do I still have to get involved with crypto? Or if I go, I really like that, whatever, that digital art, I want to buy it. Or can I just get your wallet and just use my American Express card and buy it? And you do everything, if you will, the gerbils in the background do all the work and I don't see it? Or do I have to then start doing all the work? And if I go, listen, this is $500. Here's my $500 on my American Express plus whatever gas fees, which we call user fees, whatever. So it's $525. I charge it. And then does your program then in the background do all the work? Do you go and get whatever digital currency? You do this, you do this. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly.
So you're dumbing it down for the average person, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And then you log in how you do it normally. You log in. And that's where the flow happens. So that's how we do that. Of course, that's the secret juice. But basically, it feels like you log into a normal, like if you would buy something on the e-commerce and you want to see the status of your shipped product, or you purchase a digital product. That's how it feels. So you come into like an environment where it feels like, oh, you just purchased this product. It's there, and it showcases over there. And it feels like the completely, the traditional way of buying something, right? You have your credit card, you buy something, you come in and you see your product. That's it. Great. So we want to make it as simple as possible. And I think that's also one of the biggest problems in Web3 nowadays, is there's a big gap because they just want to showcase how difficult and make it extra complicated. Right. And if you want to have mass adoption into Web3, you have to simplify it, right? Simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. So it's very complex to make something very simple, especially if it's very complicated in the background, right? So You need to have very good UI designers, UX designers to simplify the process and to have it as easy as possible. So people really don't feel like it's a difference between purchasing a digital book or purchasing a digital NFT or anything what you want to do in Web3.
So basically, you want to be Amazon. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead, John.
No, I wanted to ask. So is this just for for e-commerce, or can I send money to somebody through your I guess through your system? I don't, for lack of a better word. Can I take it? I want to send $20,000 to my cousin in Argentina.
Nazis.
No, that's not what we do. No, absolutely not. So that's really not what we do. We just have the on-ramp, and if you want to send it over, like that's just that you can do that via an exchange, or you can do it with any kind of things. That's not the services we provide. No.
So it's more for just e-commerce then.
Yeah.
But the non-custodial wallet you're issuing is giving people the opportunity to send funds back and forth as they like, because it's completely in their hands, right? But in that whole process, you are not involved. It's just the abstraction. You have the wallet. That's all. Like you've got the branded wallet. You provide the
so can I
use it?
Yeah.
Can I load a bunch of cash into my wallet, and then I get somebody somewhere else in the world, and they have the same wallet, they download your wallet, and we just exchange money? It's like, I want to be able to do electronically, like what I can do on the street. Hey, here's $10. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I do that?
No,
do you think?
No, that's not what we provide right now. We really provide only that on-ramp for NFT or Web3 products. So it's really the e-commerce flow. We do have some ideas in the roadmap for later this year or for next year where we want to provide services like that. I do know that there are different service providers that do that, but right now that's not our focus. Our focus is mainly just having that simplified e-commerce flow for Web3. Just as simple as it is, narrow down focus on that specific thing. Because if you're going to get those requests that you just mentioned, you're going to have so many more complexities that you have to take into account, that you have to cover in order to make that right.
So if I'm a merchant, and I use your wallet, is it going to cost me less than what the credit card company is going to charge me?
That depends. It all depends on all the initiations what you do, because a credit card still is going to be that's a different settlement, right? So you have the wallet, you have the service. You have either, if you're going to buy with a credit card, every credit card company has a different settlement fee in order to initiate the credit card payment itself, right?
Yeah.
That's separate from what we do. A debit card, for example, is much, much cheaper than the credit card fees that you have to pay. So it really depends on what payment method someone is using, and what the cost will be of that particular transaction. For example, we in the Netherlands, almost everyone just uses Ideal. That's just a bank to bank, and it's very cheap to do. Credit card is much, much more expensive. It's like between 2 or 4%.
Right.
Yeah, but Maurice, that cost for Ideal as a merchant, that cost goes the merchant picks that up, huh? So it's double bubble then, because I'm paying you to facilitate it, and I'm also paying the Ideal or the credit card company as well. So
yeah, exactly.
So what sort of fees will you be charging your merchants?
We ask between 1% and 3%. It depends on what kind of project it is. It depends on the scope of the project, the size of the project, if it's white label, if it's a basic one, if it's enterprise. It really depends on all the objectives that the company has, how big the company is, what kind of things we have to do in terms of auditing the smart contract in order to ensure that the smart contract is correct. There's a lot of things that happen on that hemisphere.
Yeah. And what about the other thing that we bumped our heads up against was NFT ticketing. Yeah. And of course that's a volume issue. So are you looking at that, or?
I think we're absolutely looking into that because the ticketing is a very old very old system. And I do think that with NFTs, you can definitely cover a lot of problems that the ticket providers or like the event organizers face. Think about the fraud that's happening, right? And with NFTs, you can definitely solve that issue. So we're also looking into facilitating NFT ticketing, where we actually do basically the same flow, and you have an X amount of tickets where that are just going to be NFTs, right? It's the same as a ticket. Building the same flow as how we do that with the NFTs in the, like, you know, for digital art, for example. It's the same flow. It's the same things that you take into account, and it again depends on what kind of things you want to have as extra services or utilities that you hang on your NFTs.
And most of the people we looked at for NFT ticketing couldn't do the volume. Like, we were in talks with stadiums that had 80 to 100,000 people, and they're like, we just can't do that because, you know, at that point the blockchain and everything they can do can process, if you will, like, you know, 300 tickets in a minute. And we're like, yeah, that's not going to work. So that was the issue, is that the technology today isn't really where it needs to be if you want to fill up the U2 in the United Kingdom. I think down the road it will be. And like they did it last year for the Super Bowl here in the United States, which was interesting. But, you know, they had 3 months to sell tickets, right? And it's like, oh, get an NFT, get this, get that. But if tomorrow, I don't know who the biggest band is this week in the world, goes to a stadium and they go, we're going to play the O2 tomorrow. And everyone's like, oh my God, I want to go. I cannot, if you will, mint or process, whether it's Web2, Web3, Web5, whatever, that many tickets using NFTs, because it's the technology and the blockchain's not there. So that, I think, is the big thing that needs to be solved in.
Well, yeah, that's actually a good point that you mentioned, Stephen.
It's a double issue, isn't it, Steve? It's the traffic on the blockchain produce the NFT, and it's the traffic that the payment companies have. So, you know, it's when somebody can solve both of those, and of course, in the meantime, you know, Ticketmaster just laughs at everybody. He said, well, you know, we just do it old-fashioned way. Then you pay a credit card, and all the credit card companies just continue to do what they do. Because that's the way, because they can hold the volume, which the blockchain boys can't.
Yeah, and that's actually a very big problem. And ways how we solve that is how to, like, for example, we have one feature that's a pay in advance, so people can already prepay, right? And then we queue the amount of payments and the purchases for the NFT tickets. So we queue them over like say a certain amount of time. So that could be 1 day. You spread that every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds. You do an X amount, depending on the blockchain, of course, because every blockchain has their limitations. So it also really depends on what kind of blockchain that particular vendor wants to use, right? So we suggest in certain blockchains that you can use. One of the new blockchains that we're also involved with is Venom from Abu Dhabi, which is a very good one that can also handle a lot of volume and also a lot of transactions per second, which could be very big, a very good solution to, you know, have volumes of 5 to 50,000, 100,000 of tickets in just an hour, for example.
I think that's part of the thing that, like, Ticketmaster, I know, is purchased, and Live Nation, they've all purchased NFT companies, if you will, because they all want to be on the blockchain, right? Their job, they want to be better than, you know, they know what's coming. You know, I know in Vegas they're trying to do blockchain because nobody wants to have a dead ticket. They all want a live ticket. I think it's yellow, whatever.
Yellow heart.
So I think yellow heart. So they're all trying to do a yellow heart. But Yellow Heart will be the first people to tell you that they can't process 50,000 at this point, no matter what. So, and the other thing is if, and I guess Taylor Swift's the largest person right now that does tours, right? So, but if I want to go to Taylor Swift, like when she played in Dallas, they sold out Jerry Rice's Shrine to Himself, which is like 150,000 tickets, right? They sold that out in like a minute. So that's the issue I think you have with the blockchain. It's like if the 5 of us are bidding on whether it's a suite, whether it's floor seats, or whether it's nosebleed seats, and we're clicking, and the blockchain can't tell me for an hour, 2 or 3 if I own it, I think until it can do that, it'll be very hard to do a mega venue. If I want to do a comedy club of 200 people, it'll work all day long. And I think the next evolution to get, whether it's Web 2 or Web 3, where people accept the blockchain for what it is, or to accept NFTs for what they could be down the road, is that's going to happen. And I think that's also, and we spoke about this with Bo, I think that's going to be more computing. And I think that's where quantum computing down the road will come into play. But I think that, like, where I'm going to go book the O2 or the O2 every night with 100,000 tickets is probably 5, maybe 10 years away, depending on what happens, because you really need that to go from A to Z, I think.
Yeah, you need to be able to handle those kind of volumes. And that's exactly the reason, like, our system could handle that volume, because we use a traditional infrastructure, and we queue those things, right? So because we convert that in the background, so for a user, they have no idea that it's an NFT or that it's a blockchain payment, and they don't have to have it directly. They don't perceive it. You can really imitate the whole flow as long as they have the feeling that they already have it, and that the flow can basically run in the background. You could still handle those volumes and get it transferred in the background as fast as it can be, right? So that's also the reason why things like
Maurice, there's always going to be a cutoff then, even with that solution, because you're going to be batching this stuff out, put it onto the blockchain. But there's always, the nearer you get to the last minute, what is the last minute that I can buy a valid NFT ticket?
It would be the same. It would be the same as a traditional flow. And the reason why I would say it still be the same is because with a traditional flow, you work with the amount that an API could handle, right? In terms of requests, we use that same technology. We just use traditional Web2 technology in order to cover those problems, right? So how it would go right? We don't tackle it with the block. We don't tackle it with the smart contract, because we don't initiate it directly to the smart contract. We initiate it with the traditional Web2 flow, where you work with the APIs and where you work with the backend that basically handles the amount. So when it's sold out, it's sold out. No one can buy it anymore. We don't work directly. We don't initiate it directly with the smart contract. We do that afterwards.
Okay, so you're batching. So you're taking it in Web2, for instance, and then you're batching it out onto the blockchain afterwards.
Yeah, because it's not feasible, as was just being said. It's not feasible right now to do that, especially because your gas fees are going to be maybe even more expensive than the ticket itself. So we work in the traditional flow in order to gatekeep and in order to tackle that problem until it's being solved, until you have blockchains that could handle those volumes, that could have a different flow. But right now it's a little bit it's not flawless. So you have to do it more on the traditional side of things, and then convert that in the back end, instead of doing it vice versa. And we really look from the customer perspective, the vendor perspective, in order, like, okay, how can we do this? This is the amount of volume that you need to do. How can we tackle that instead of having the problems of gas wars that you see happening with very big projects, right? We tackle those things with having it as a traditional gatekeeping system, and also, like, for example, things like pay in advance, right? Where people can pay in advance, they're already locked in their payment, you name it. There's a lot of things how you could solve that, right? You have to think in solutions and not in problems. I think that's one of the biggest problems in most people, most organizations. They mostly think in problems, and then you're never going to find the solution.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, well, it's I mean, do you get a lot of pushback then, because you by your own admission, then you're not technically a Web3 company.
Exactly.
You're sort of like 2.5, 2.75.
That's exactly how you can call it. Yeah,
nearly Web3 country. I mean, I'm being a little bit facetious, I know, but it's interesting that you're upfront about the fact that this is where we want to go, but we can't. Yeah. So,
it doesn't really matter, right? If it's 2.0 or 3.0, who the hell bloody hell cares? Are you solving? Right?
Yeah, that's right, John. Yeah, that's it.
Just, are you solving my problem? Is it costing me less money? And is it easy to do? Yes. Okay. Wonderful. Because
John, I care because I'm a member of all these Web3 groups all over the place. Well, they're going to take me out. They're going to take me out and crucify me, mate.
Yeah, I used to be.
That's the thing.
All for.
Go on, John.
Sorry, John. Go on. A lot of this is, finding a problem to solve, right? You know, and a lot of the new stuff is more complexity when we kind of have the technology that sort of works, but really what it's not the technology, it's more the I guess the infrastructure, the legal aspects that block the solution to potentially all the problems we're trying to solve. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah. No, I totally agree with you, John. Yeah, I think, and what I see is the biggest problem, and that's that's really, people look at it like, oh, this is Web 2, oh, this is Web 3, and Web 3 people don't want to have anything to do with the Web 2 because it's centralized, and Web 3 is decentralized, and I'm just here like, let's just build solutions. We have so much nice innovation in Web 3, as Web 2 people and as a Web 2 world. Let's just use it, but there's no bridge. And most of the Web 3 people are like, oh, we're Web 3 and we want to be decentralized and we want to make it as difficult as possible because that makes it cooler or something like that. And I'm just here, like John also said, like, yeah, let's just make solutions. Let's just fix those problems. Let's use and incorporate those beautiful things that we have in Web 3 and incorporate them in Web 2. So yeah, you can definitely call us Web 2.5 or Web 2.7. But yeah, it's more the bridge between the two groups, right? Web 2 and Web 3.
Yeah.
But also, which was interesting about Web 3, they made a big hoo-ha between The Economist and between Financial Times, and everybody was talking about, look at what it's going to do, and yada yada yada. And it came out as one of the articles I read when it finally came out. It came out with a thud. Nobody cared. Didn't really do anything. Everyone's like, yeah, okay. Like for the average person, they don't have a clue if they're on Web 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They could care less. And to your point, it's like when I get into a car, I understand how combustion engines work. I understand how the electric engine works. At the end of the day, I don't really care. I push my little button, and it either goes boom, boom, or it does nothing, like Marceau. And I don't care. And I put my foot on the pedal, and it either goes vroom, or it goes, and I drive. And at the end of the day, Web 2, 3, 7,000, whatever. It's all anybody wants. So for your stuff, the solution is awesome. If you guys can help it get to a point, especially in ticketing, that's a whole $1 billion industry that you'll be an overnight success, so to speak. With the NFT marketing, or if the NFT digital market, there's companies that are kind of doing what you're doing, that we know of in Korea and Japan and whatnot, but nobody has a foothold yet. I think A, because a lot of people don't know about it, and B, because of what's happening now with crypto algorithms, people are leery of it. But if someone says, hey, listen, you don't have to worry about that. You want to buy Bored Ape for $1 million because you're an idiot. You can do it with our technology with a credit card. I think then all of a sudden people are going to be like, oh, okay. Like they can get into it and they don't have to get into it. They can just kind of buy things and go along. And they can be, if you will, a little player in a market that's still very immature. And then down the road, hopefully it becomes more mature. So I think that's a very cool thing.
So in the Netherlands, do people buy, sort of expensive stuff and use the debit card, or?
No, we're all poor here, John.
Yeah.
All the money's in the US.
In the Netherlands, you can't even go out and buy something for more than 1,000 euros in cash. Like
that much I know. Yeah.
It's a very conservative country in terms of
you can't go to the bank and be like, hey, I need $500 because they won't have it for you, right? That's what's happening here.
Yeah,
and we've got a pretty modern country.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, you're okay. I don't. Should I go here? I mean,
yeah, go there, John. Go. That's why you're here, John. Come on, John.
When you think of it, right? In Brussels they talk about the authoritarian governments and but when you think of the everyday activities that are so restricted, as you just pointed out, you go to the bank and you can't take more than 1,000 euros in cash because they ask you questions, justify where your funds are from. It's Europe has the idea that, or even the US, that we're free countries, but we're far from it, huh? So I think if we can find this is why I think that Web3, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, anonymous transactions have the appeal for so many, in the world because we're getting squeezed everywhere, right? You can't do anything without some kind of government bureaucrat, imposing some kind of rule for you to justify what you're doing and how you do it and whether you're within the rules that they've imposed. So I don't know. I think that's so
you're for Web3 basically.
But look, as long as we can. Yeah, the problem is that the system, I'll call it the system, forces you to come in, right? The day that everybody can accept some kind of new currency, then we'll be free of this. But it's difficult because the system doesn't allow you to do it.
John, what's just called? It's just, you mean the central bank and the governments don't basically want you to be able to print your own currencies and do whatever and run them up.
Right.
So something like an algorithm doesn't control it, which is just a big Ponzi scheme. I don't know why you'd be worried about that, John. That's awesome.
Look,
it's an issue, John, isn't it? Where's all that funny money going to go to?
Yeah, but remember, just because you have somebody that looks nice in a suit and has a nice granite building in some central city, they're printing funny money too. The only reason that your dollar or your euro is worth anything is because you can pay taxes with it. It could. You know what else, John? I can exchange it for other funny money. And central banks and governments accept that funny money. The problem with the crypto algorithm, and it's a very nice concept. I like it. Don't get me wrong. The biggest issue is that people go, the government doesn't know what I have. Yes, they do. Because when those people stole $4 billion worth of Bitcoin, the FBI, with the help of agencies that technically don't exist, arrested them because they know where it goes. So when people go, they know. So first of all, that make-believe notion that the governments don't know who owns what in crypto algorithms and the blockchain, push that aside. It's just another form of currency. And all the governments from the US to China, and it keeps going on and on and on, all have, and all going to come out with their own crypto, would be cryptocurrencies, their cryptocurrencies, and they're just going to kill what's there. There'll be a fringe, I think, that'll still use it. And it's okay, but let's not think that all of a sudden that, you're just going to get rid of your favorite currency. Okay, the euro and the dollar is already a digital currency.
Yes.
I mean, when the government, sends, stimulus payments, what do? They don't send you a piece of paper. They just credit your account in your bank.
Make believe. Right. Make believe money. Right.
The only thing about why governments want to introduce a digital, a cryptocurrency with Web3 technology is because what can they do? They can say, hey, John, here's 100 euro, 1,000 euro. Okay, but you got to spend it within the next 30 days. If not, poof, it's gone. Right. Oh, there's a total level of control that they can have. And that's why, they want to kill crypto so that it doesn't become a replacement for the currency that's currently out there because they won't be able to control it. Anyway,
I don't know if they want to kill it, John. I think they just want to get a better handle on it. So
they want to control
things don't happen.
Yeah.
John, they're going to control everything anyway, so it doesn't really matter. To tell you this, pal, they've been controlling things for a long time. Just because someone comes up with an algorithm doesn't mean one day it's going to be like, you don't have to worry about it anymore. You're going to use this algorithm. It's not happening, but it's cute. I like that.
There are projects out there that like Monero, which I think offering practically the world that a lot of us would like, which is totally anonymous. Because, and as you point out, Bo, the cash issue. Why is it that they don't want you to be able to take out cash? The usual thing is no, because of money laundering and drug activity. Bullshit.
Oh, that's bad.
Because they don't have it, right?
Yeah, because you can take the cash and become. Yeah, you have your privacy. That's why they killed. What was it? You had the 1,000 euro bill and they killed it. Right now it's back to 500. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have a 500 euro bill here, but if you go to a supermarket, they have a sticker at the counter
Yeah.
It says, you can't use it. We're not going to exchange it.
Yeah.
So what's the point of having it?
A SWAT team comes around and says, "Where did you get this, David?"
Yeah.
And for you people that need John's address to go get your €1,000 and €500 bills, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to give it to you. Oh, it gets in the SWAT team to the house.
Right.
So very cool.
We went
Time's ticking on, gentlemen. So I was just going to ask Maurice. Sorry, Bill.
I wanted to ask a question to Maurice as well.
Yeah.
I was wondering, Maurice, like it's a bit of a two-sided story. So you're addressing the market where Web3 meets Web2. So there's two sides. There's a not that much demand in the market for a solution that's so serving to two sides, right? Mostly they try to be really polarizing, like we're a complete Web3 native company. Yeah. We're going to, like, how do you like, what's your target audience at the moment? What are you trying to address, and who are the people who you are trying to serve? Could you just formalize that in a few sentences? Like, who's that ideal customer at the moment?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think our target audience is, first of all, we have B2B2C, right? So business to business to consumers. So eventually we target the vendors. So let's say you have a club, or a art gallery, or someone who has a lot of art and wants to digitize that. Most of the times they have traditional buyers, right? If people go to a club, those are most of the times traditional people. Same thing goes for art. Same thing goes for any kind of vendor that we provide our services to, right? So we offer the service to them so that they can have the same simple flow of, like, if you would buy a ticket to go to an event or to a club or to a festival or anything else, it would be the same.
What are those plus sides for them? Like, they already have that whole system in place where they sell tickets to that one customer already. And what are, like, the points of the USP for them? Like, I understand that you're addressing an issue in the market, but that issue isn't relevant to those companies at that time. So you introduce, like, an opportunity, or how do you sell that? Because they are completely unaware that they have an issue at that point. You're just already at that stage of, okay, you're going to have that in the future. How do you have that conversation with them?
Well, they don't. Most of the times it's more like they reach out to us because they already have the idea of, hey, I want to launch my NFT collection. And that, as you know, even better than I do, like, every NFT collection comes with different variables, right? Different utilities. So most of the times they come to us and they say, like, okay, I want to launch a NFT collection and I want to have these utilities, right? Maybe sometimes they thought of these utilities themselves, or they have a marketing agency that does that for them, or any kind of anything else. And we just really provide the payment service flow. Same as the e-commerce. You have products that you want to sell. Oh, okay, we want to sell it to, for example, they want to sell it to you. You need to be able to do the transaction. The only thing that we do is provide that transaction flow so that people can buy those NFTs instead of, like, the traditional. Let's say you want to buy a painting somewhere, you can buy that right now with fiat currency, no problem. Credit card, debit cards, doesn't really matter. Most of them already have a payment settlement system for that, right? Now they want to step into NFTs. They have the ID to set up an NFT. They want to have an X amount of utilities. Really doesn't matter what kind of utilities. They come with the problem that, okay, now they want to sell something that's on the blockchain. We have to become that payment service provider or payment facilitator that makes them able to sell those NFTs, right?
Yeah, so you're not actively looking for customers that aren't ready to actually purchase your solution or to use your solution at this point. It's more like, okay, we've got the solution for the people who are already embarking on the journey in Web3.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So there's a major opportunity there of, like, hey guys, we know you're scared, but we've got you covered. And is that like the next target audience for you? Like figuring out how to address those people directly and using your network of marketers, agencies to partner with them so they have the full package, or how are you looking at serving the market?
Yeah, we work a lot with Web3 agencies or marketing agencies that miss this service, basically, right? It's a very common question, like, okay, we have a very cool NFT project right now, and all the marketing is ready. Okay, we have one of the biggest problems, maybe even the biggest problem, is okay, how we're gonna have those people buy it, right? Because you can have the most amazing, beautiful products and an offer they can't refuse. But still, if they're not going to be able to buy it, you're going to have a very big problem, you know. So that's really what we dive into, and the market is still really shaping. So we don't know. Like, we're now targeting more on the music industry, event industry, NFT ticketing that we discussed, because we see a lot of opportunities there. You see, for example, you saw Tomorrowland that did NFTs as well. Those are very interesting things, but really the market is still being shaped. And we're focusing on the vendors or companies that are ready to do something with Web3, yet don't know how to do that, right? There's a much bigger group, but that group will come much later. And that's the group that is doing something like e-commerce or anything else, but it's not doing anything with royalty programs or NFTs and don't want to do that, right? But we don't want to be the organization that is trying to convince them to do that, right? That's up to marketing agencies, I think.
So if I own a small football club and I have a 10,000 foot stadium, theoretically, and we want to do NFT ticketing, your system should be able to handle that.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll come to us and we'll see how we can do that. And then we'll also do that, and we'll also do like a very good benchmarking to see like how fast did you sell in the past, right? Like, for example, if a Taylor Swift would come to us, it would be a different approach than a smaller company, smaller organization that will come to us, right? That's why it's always different, and the approach is always different, especially in terms of the high volumes that you could that you have to do.
Right.
I think we could do Taylor Swift in dripping, like doing some drip selling. Like, okay, we can do it in batches of 10K. We're going to sell it the whole year around. Like, it's already possible, I think, and you can resell the tickets afterwards. But
not for Taylor Swift, not for Taylor Swift people who sell the tickets. They literally put them on the market and they want them gone in 30 seconds. And what happens is, and the problem with ticket sales is that when you set, so we know all about this because we were in NFT ticketing and we dealt with football clubs. So what ends up happening is if I want to sell it for a football club, what they're going to say to me, if I'm not the football club, is they're going to come to me and go, "That's great. You want to sell my tickets? It's $1 million to buy the stadium that day. $1 million. Here's all the tickets. Sell them." So that same logic is the same logic in the music business to sell out Taylor Swift. If she's coming to the Dallas Cowboy Stadium, you know, the shrine to Jerry Rice, what ends up happening is I, as Ticketmaster, am giving them $5 million or $10 million, whatever it is, right? Then I sell the tickets, but I've already bought them at $32.50, whatever the number is. So that's why when you go to Ticketmaster and it's like, oh, a $32 ticket now is $330, is because I'm now making my profit. So when we talk to sports clubs and venues, and even the Taylor Swifts of the world, when we talked to them all last year, they were all like, they want their fans to get it and not have like Ticketmaster make all the profit. They don't even care if they make the profit. They want them to show up, right? Because in their contract, they get so much money to come play that day. They don't get more, they don't get less, they get this. So whether you sell one ticket or you sell out makes no difference, right? They're going to get their X. So the issue then is, how do you do that? And it's going to go 10,000 trips isn't going to work. So the technology is, if you will, there. The solution is there. It's the speed and accuracy that you actually need to get it to actually work. Unless you're a small football club, whether in the United States or in Europe, that you have a 5,000 or 10,000 stadium, then that'll work, right? Because you can sell 10,000 tickets in an hour. Boom, you're done. Great. But in America, you need to be able to sell out, if you will, for football and concerts. You're probably looking at 60, 70, 80, 100,000 tickets in minutes for big games. depending who it is. If you're, like in Europe, if you like France, yeah, you take a couple of years to sell a ticket for a football club there. But if you're like, a real team, then it's a whole different story. But and I think that's how you have to look at it. Like Argentina, they don't even have a football club.
The problem with the ticketing and Taylor Swift and the big acts and all the acts with Ticketmaster is they take 80% of the tickets and they've already given them to StubHub, Citibank, right? So there's very limited amount of tickets available on the opening of the sale. Right. That's really the problem. The problem here is, I'm sure Web 2 and Web 3 combined can do the volume. This is just a business monopoly that the people putting shows and selling tickets in football and whatever the venue is, somehow don't want to take the risk and say, hey, Maurice, can you do this? And let's try something new that's going to be revolutionary. They're either they're scared to fail on the first time or have some issues. Really, it's I don't understand why anybody just doesn't put a little bit of cash and blows Ticketmaster out of the smithereens.
Because Ticketmaster is a multi-billion-dollar company and they've been doing it for too long, and you have to convince, not Ticketmaster, you have to you'd have to convince Taylor Swift that you can still make her the money that Ticketmaster guarantees her, or iHeart, or whoever's putting her on the tour, guaranteeing her per stadium, right? So you would say, Taylor, you're going to come play her. I guarantee you $10 million. Don't worry.
But
then you can sell your tickets.
If you could change the dynamic and say, look, you're saying that let's just take this one artist. Okay, you want your fans to get the tickets at a reasonable price. Okay, well, stop with your demands of having upfront cash and put your money where your mouth is, and let's do this, and we can do it, right?
I agree wholeheartedly with you. I'm just saying that the
so
real world is
it's more of a marketing problem than a
I think, John, with this will only change. This will come. One of the few things that will work bottom up is there will be artists who will be saying, "I want to control my tickets. I want to build my own community under me, and I'm going to go to the venue and share my revenue with them." It's
we've talked to a bunch of of people in the industry, and they all say,
"Oh yeah,
that's what they all say." But in the reality, they're a bunch of they want to do their music and they're lazy. They're not interested in the business side. So it's going to have to come up with I don't know, a couple of. There's always you have to be a maverick and change the system.
Well, I think on the plus side, it sounds like Maurice and companies, I've added very respectfully. I say that Maurice is, you've put some serious pieces into the puzzle here. Because it's from a consumer's point of view, they don't care. Like Steve said, I got a car, I don't care what's under the bonnet. I would need to go from A to B, and it provides me that facility, and that's the same with purchasing. But
I think if you can do the volume, you got
ticketing is interesting. Ticketing is really interesting because it takes you into a world where you can offer an element of Web3, but you can offer that to either to the venue holder themselves, who can build a community around their own venue, or to the artist itself, who can build a community.
So on the final note, guys, just on the final note, because we're running out of time, right?
We are.
So when Maurice can do the volume, he needs to contact Steven for the financial part and the network. David will facilitate, and John will scrutinize when needed, right? So we've got the whole team set up.
And we can actually open our we'll open our Rolodex. We have sports teams and music venues that definitely would be very interested if we can show that you can handle 50 to 100,000 tickets like that. So
I'm not really sure, but you've got the get protocol here in the Netherlands. Maybe Maurice should contact them, because I had a feeling that they were 50xing their throughput this year. So maybe collaborate there and get back in touch with Steven.
Or we'll talk off the air once this is done. Hey guys, thank you so much. And for you people listening, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to leave a comment below. more about John than anything. I would leave comments. Everything else was great. It's just John was a little weak today. So make sure you just say, John, you were weak, stand up next time. But no, we thank everybody that was here. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe, like, ooh, David's about to speak, the rock and roll part.
Well, sadly, this is the end of today's show. A really big thank you to everyone who contributed today to the show. And of course, thank you to my co-host, Stephen Oldfart. I'm David Oldfart. Don't forget, subscribe to the show and get all the latest updates from two old farts making noises.